Okay, lady, here some audio recorded notes for you. Deirdre and Destiny, you will actually start in place upstage of center, just off of the psych. You have 2 8s before you'll begin. In that first 8, at the 4 count in the first 8, lights will start up. The music will start at the beginning. At the top of the second 8, Deirdre and Destiny will begin. I need you guys, Deirdre and Destiny, to use your backs more, to move through your core, to let the energy go through your fingers and not just from the tops of your shoulders, which is what it sort of feels like. To have more of a sharper and exact transitions at the start. It feels, Deirdre, like you're late and you're not ready for what's happening in the first few steps. I'd like for you to review the steps back into that final position and have a stronger finish. I also need you guys to stay center. Any movement that kind of moves you off center to kind of really allow the movements that come after to kind of bring you back. Let's see. A longer pull off for Destiny. Deirdre, that can happen, as her pelvis is kind of pulling up and going out, that you are actually kind of pulling back so that she's actually, able to kind of press down on your arms and really sort of feel the weight of her energy going out and yours kind of pulling back, that counterbalance. But then from that, there really be sort of a release down so that out of that counterbalance, and checking the position of both your bodies, we really do feel a release down into the pull up. So we really feel the arms kind of go up before you begin the next set of kind of port de bras. For there to be less mechanical arms, and the wrap at the beginning around Destiny's neck, for it to be a softer wrap and softer transition into that position. Again, stronger port de bras throughout, but also that towards the end, when you move downstage, that those port de bras are really, really strong, and that your focuses go to those port de bras as they're happening, and also that you really do command the downstage placement more. And that when you back up right to where you started, and that you really look at what the sequence or the coordination of those steps back, those steps walking back are in relation to Deirdre and Destiny, and how each head moves and how each step correlates, with one another, so that you hit a strong position at the end. I want you guys to use the rhythm now to hear the accents in the music, in the chords and in the notes, so that you see the way in which they connect in the piece and that they correlate to the choreography. Kylie, you entered at the correct time from the first wing stage right. You need more of a fuller and more definitive, a more fuller shape and more definitive accents in the variants of your opening arm movements. Watch the second video in this playlist, because the legs are closer to being right, but at the same time they need review, please. Your first jump leg is too high. Use your plie more to be more supple and controlled in your turns, so that you're able to lift up and out of the body as the leg swings low and behind you. The rond de jambe leg is also too high and needs to be overcrossed. If it's going to be high, it needs to have more of a slicing feel to it. But if it's going to be lower, which is, I would take it higher and more sliced. But if it's going to be lower, it needs to be more cut across the center of the body. Let the leg after you do the turn, and then you lift up out of the body as the leg swings around you, and as the leg swings behind you, let it kind of relax more behind you before you do that rond de jambe leg, which I want to have more slice. More energy in the elbows, and lift up out of the left side of your body, and have more weight in your legs as you shift to that downstage right position. The step of the contretemps needs to be tighter. Also, it isn't a hitch kick back that you do right before you get into the turn. When you step back, really use and have a more solid plie so that the turns really feel like you're in control of them and that you don't touch down with your arms. Have a more clear and direct, have a clearer direction change and shift. Make sure that the swing around of the leg doesn't have a flexed foot at the beginning, but that the flexed foot comes with the hook of the leg in the back. Maintain your facing when you're after you do the lunge and the port de bras back, so that we're seeing you face stage left, and that remember that you're making a box. So you do that, that sequence of steps facing stage left, but then all you're facing them from the turn after the arabesque. Again, tighter contretemps the second time too, longer arabesque, juicier plie, so that what we end up seeing happening is that your direction, again, changes and shifts, and we know that you're going upstage, across, and stage right. Look at those steps too as you exit, because what's happening is what is supposed to be, some really clean and really neat ballet steps going off with being a contretemps looks like a pas de chat again. The rond de jambe leg, again, is too high. Have more breath in your arms. The energy needs to stay up, and it needs to take us into the wings. The legs look tired, and so you really want to keep the energy up. Emily, you know to cross sooner because of the change we made. And make sure that you get across faster so that you're not in Chris's way, as is what happens in this video. Emily and Bella, burst stronger into the space, juicier plies throughout. You really want to make sure that you have energy through your legs and that you're fully using your feet. It'll help with the shapes and the suspension of your turns in that opening phrase work that you have. The duet feels like it stops and it goes, as if there are times that you're kind of simply standing in place, and it shouldn't feel that way. It should be overlapping. It should sort of, one thing should beget the next. It should have this sort of, this sort of undercurrent of not revolving, but sort of rolling on and forward energy in the movement. It's like it's one thing after the other. It keeps rolling along. It has a constant sense of release and rebound. And don't let it stop. It can suspend and have moments of breath, but not stop. I want you to push each other further and more. For everyone, more of a weighted plie and use of your hips and arms through the back and not at the top of your shoulders, and with a greater undulation as you do the traveling transition step. Let's see, quartet ladies, more immediate with getting to that line. I need you, and you must stay more center and move underneath yourselves and always get back to your place with the steps you have. It seems like it gets too comfortable with how far and how big you've shifted in your bodies and in your placement on stage. It needs to be tighter. The timing has to be tight, much tighter than it is. I want you guys to follow what Chris has set exactly, because she's really setting a nice pace and specificity with what's happening in the elbows and what's happening in the arms and what's happening in the hands and in the arms throughout. It's really how she's shifting in the line. Like, everything needs to kind of really follow behind what it is that she's doing. The minute movement are where the details and the fingers and the hands and elbows and arms are needed more. The specificity of that is so key. It really makes it look very clean and danced well. Really also focus it in on with the alignment of your arms, and specifically the back arm. The back arm seems to lose a lot of attention. A lot of it gets shifted to what's happening in front of you, and almost forgetting that, there's energy that needs to be flowing out the back and behind me. We had that pump when you guys did sort of the snaking step, and the pump has now become the focus, and it needs to have more of a snake-like and more tied together sequence, so we see the shifts in the weight and strengthen the positions. Movements of the cannon break off need to be locked in. Deidre, as being last in the line, it too often seems like you're late. And in the sextet, from you back to Emily and Bella, the specifics seem to die off and the energy seems to drop out. The pitched front levels, like who's pitched front, who's higher up and who's lower down, needs to be make sure it's made very specific and clear, because no one seems to kind of be hitting their exact, like two ladies are supposed to be in the quartet, two ladies are supposed to be pitched down, and two ladies are slightly on a diagonal pitched up, and that isn't happening. Also, the snake-like back into the one line needs to start with the head and go fully through the body. A big note I have here, Destiny. The steps can feel like building blocks and not like they're fluid lines of movement throughout. They feel like things being checked off and not being sort of, the movement doesn't feel lived through, and I want you to live more through the movement rather than like, okay, I did that, next thing, and did that. It kind of feels like, one thing, like a list of things rather than sort of a line that you're moving through. More immediacy in getting to the last line position, Deirdre. And ladies, again, stay with Chris and the pacing and the energy through the fingers and the back. And again, not out of the top of the shoulders or from the arms, because it feels like the arms are really heavy. Don't hold for the music to change. Hit a strong finish position and go right into the transition step to go off so that the duet can come straight on through. Bella, I want you to go a little earlier for your cross upstage from stage left to stage right. And Emily, remember to move across at the time that we set so that you're going through or behind Chris at the right moment. Duet again, I want you to burst right on through the same note. Command the space. Don't stop and go. Keep the movement sequence flowing through the phrasing. I want you to have more weight in your plies. More weight in your plies throughout, but also for you to get for you from the beginning to have longer arabesque lines and to let the pull off and the arabesque happen with more, I want to say more elongation in your back leg. It looks like you're being tugged and not really on your leg and that you're losing your center. Both of you, the same with Kylie when she does that sort of slice rondeggiant overcross step. Your rondeggiants look too heavy and they need to have more pointed feet. So it's not the leg that's moving across, it's the pointed foot that we see. It feels like that sort of rondeggiant or sort of up and overcross of the leg is happening too much from the hips and not, sort of in the leg sockets. You can either make them lower and more across the body or make them higher and bigger, but with a more sweeping sharpness that has sort of, like I said, a more overcross energy, but definitely with more powerful legs there. Don't use the opening or entrance step to kind of hop in. Allow yourself to go down into the floor as you travel out and to have wider bodies, really sort of expand out in the space. Again, don't stop and go, and let every step serve the next step in the sequence. So it's like a rolling wave. Feel each other's weight in the partnering positions and know your downs together. Breathe out so that they register to us and we feel that moment of you energy-wise and physically connecting to each other. Still on Bella and Emily, clean up the exactness of the steps and quickness of the phrasing from the separation. This is in your second entrance. From the time you guys separate to the end, an exactness of the steps, a cleaning up of the exactness of the